All right, I don't need to fake it. We can just start. There's enough of you here. It's easier to use my voice than it is for me to type right now. Since I'm doing this all by myself, I need y'all to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down with the audio loudness, please. It took me a long time to get everything set back over from Texas streaming. I see no thumbs up or thumbs down. Okay, I get one thumbs up. I gotta get punched in the elbow, face. I got some thumbs up. A little quiet. Okay, no, we gotta make sure M. Kunzelman can hear everything. I'm gonna boost it like 2 decibels and then, actually I'm gonna boost it like 8 decibels and I'll just turn it down from the other side. One sec. You talked to me at TPF, but you did, so you went all like totally incognito. Oh wait, that's 9 decibels. I can't count. Okay, that's 8. Cool. Well, I wish you would have introduced yourself, but I'm glad I got to talk to you anyways. Howdy, y'all. Okay, here, I can show my face now too. Oh wait, I need my chair. Ugh. All right, old man Kyle's here. Howdy, y'all. Oh, look at Bad at a Hole by Meatloaf's here also. Friend of the show, super human, super cool dude. Let me move this TV just a teeny bit because I'm also blind. So I can see what y'all are saying. Yeah, dude, I understand. My voice went away like after the first day. That show wasn't even that loud, but my poor delicate little vocal cords were just not ready to handle that, you know? Howdy, y'all. How's everyone going? How doing? It's Thursday. It's a good day because the week's almost over. So no, Surf Champ is not supposed to have the blue trim. Someone, I think there was some artistic interpretation someone took upon themselves and repainted it themselves. Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad you didn't get fired. And you're losing your mind. Yeah, well, you know, if you're not losing your mind at work, are you working? I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, so Emoto has some important things to do, so we're doing this on our own. I don't 100% know what the free shipping code is yet. So I'll figure that out. Hey Sarah, I think you're on here. I think I seen you. Can you like spam Emoto and get me to figure out what the free shipping code is so then you can write it in the chat for me if you're still here? Yeah, we went to the Texas Pinball Festival. That was pretty cool. Let's wait for a few people to dwindle their way in, and we could talk about that a little bit. Hey, Pin Daddy, you subscribed to us again. Thank you very much. Without people like you, we would not continue doing these sorts of things. You rule. Oh. Oh, shucks. I mean, I really wish I would have met you. Let me tell you, it was very humbling, and it felt really cool to have so many people come up and tell them I taught them something. So it's really neat to meet people in real life. You know, I guess since we've only been really doing this during pandemic-y shutdown times, you know, getting back out to the shows, it's been really neat to, it's just very weird to have people recognize me. In real life, like, I am very timid when I'm not behind a camera or I'm not maybe consuming a little bit of bravery juice, aka beer. So it's very kind of like shocking when people are like, oh, hey, I know you. Like, how? Why? TPF was awesome. You had a great booth. Thank you, Big Brother Pinball. I'm glad you had a good time. There was so many games there. It was really fun. Yeah, we did have a lot of games. I think we had 24 or 25 games. We had Stern Pinball brought and had us set up in our combined booth, like 8 Mandalorians, at least 8 to 10 rushes between pros and premiums, and then a handful of Godzillas. So I am not famous. I do not want to be famous. I just want to be helpful. That's all. So yeah, it was pretty cool. We had the Insider Connected, whole Insider Connected circus there, so all the games were connected. TPF was a verified location, which comes with its own fun badges and achievements. And we also had the leaderboards set up, which is something really fun to do at the shows. I am excited as the Insider Connected platform continues to grow, and some of those things, such as leaderboards, become available for usage in arcades or possibly tournaments and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. Pin famous, almost famous. Okay, I'll take almost famous. I'm a big surfer in a small ocean. Give that guy a high five. Grumpy EM Doctor always has a good pun. I'm trying to think of like what Emoto would say, since she always starts this show off instead of me just rambling. But I guess we are on episode 85. How cool is that? Infamous, more than famous. Oh God, I'm insidious. Episode 85, that's pretty cool. Generally, I would say, oh my God, how are we on episode 85? Make a dumb dad joke, but I'm not going to do that today. We are going to, I think we'll talk a bit today about Texas. Talk a little bit about the show before we jump over to the game. Honestly, I do not remember where we left off with this. I'm pretty sure we're at the point where we might be able to turn it on or just see what it does. I'm going to be working on this game a little bit this weekend since it's a customer's game. So let's get back in the loop. I also need to put the plastics back on my Jungle Lord. I've got all of these games that need just this much more work, and then they'll be good to go. If you didn't notice, we did disassemble a bit of the backdrop here. You don't really ever see this side, but we had to take down some of the curtains. So it's a little goofy in here. We had to bring him to the show. Okay, that being said, I need to remember we're trying to do the introductions thing like Emoto. I don't know what the free shipping is code yet. We are waiting to get that. Okay. I think we're using the same free shipping code as last time. Snow Pale White. She is one of my coworkers. That is the actual shipping code. PT-surfin, all capitalized. RB Flip. Hey, that was one of my highlights of the show. Meeting the folks behind RB Flip. I met Rudy, Julien, and Guillaume. Guillaume is a Paris pinball fanatic on the internet. He's very prolific, but those guys were really, really awesome. Without them, we would not have been able to set the booth up, so thank you. Yeah, okay, so where were we? That's about it. I think we were kind of ready to kind of do the show now, you know? Yeah, Emoto, she worked herself to death. She's not actually dead, but she is metaphysically dead, so she is taking a well-deserved break. I'm getting all sorts. I see Big Brother Pinball, is the leaderboard feature available to operators yet? No, not yet. It's a show-only thing for a minute. Insanity Falls asks what my favorite beach-themed pin is. I don't know. I mean, I'd probably have to say Baywatch because I really like that game. If it was just art-wise, I really like Bally's Surfer. Go look that one up. I think it's a 60s game or an early 70s game, but Bally Surfer is a really cool one. Surf Champ is probably one of the better surfing beach-themed games. The rule set is actually quite good. So, Fireside Chat with Kyle is fun. I think it's Emoto does want me to work on games though. So, Wildman9999 subscribed with Prime for 12 months. Hey, thanks, man. That's 1 whole year of subscription to us. It's much appreciated. Oh my God. So apparently there's a theory that I broke a TV. I will probably deny this, but it could have happened. We had a little trouble with our crazy trust structure. But yeah, we'll leave that there. Frisco Pinball, hooray for Surf Champ. I might grab a local one that's been restored. That's a great choice. It's a great EM. It's a really, really fun to play game with a bunch of good modern features and a fun layout, right? Modern features as in, it's an EM that has like 3 or 4 things to do to progress the points. So I kind of like that. Instead of just like one thing or just playing for a replay. The later Gottlieb games seem to have, of course in an EM you're mostly just playing to earn that free game, but this game is a little more fun than that. Hayamoto, thanks for reminding us the free shipping code. Yes, Baywatch is in fact dope. Gilligan's Island is kind of a beach theme game. I'll let you have that. It was nice to meet you as well at TPF Frisco Pinball. I've met so many people. It was a whirlwind, so. Just kidding. Hey, I might have broken the TV. I don't know. The fingerprint fits, right? So yeah, we went to Texas Pinball Festival and set up our booth with our partners in crime, Stern Pinball as always, for bringing the games out. And we also partnered with the greatest pinball dealer in Texas, Craig Hassel, and Fun Billiards and Game Room Superstore. I believe that is the absolute total 100% long name of his shop. They're great. They are the largest pinball dealer in North Texas, and I wouldn't be surprised if they are the largest pinball dealer in Texas, but they've got a great showroom. You'll notice a lot of the pictures of their used games. They're very recognizable by the checkered floor and the stairway. It's funny, a lot of scammers use Craig's pictures for their ads. Anyways, yes, Craig is awesome at fun. Thank you, Emoto, for bringing that whole thing up, the whole name. So yeah, we set up our booth. We had a large booth. We had a lot of special guests from Stern Pinball, which is always fun. Since at the Texas show they do the TWIPY Awards, the This Week in Pinball Awards. A lot of the folks that work behind the scenes or worked on the Godzilla pinball game, which absolutely swept the award ceremony, came out. So we had, our great friend Mike Vinacor, the Stern's marketing manager, Michael Grant came, Greg Freris, the head of the art department, and just all around wonderfully talented artist. Greg is an old school pinball artist. He was hired by Paul Ferris to work in the Bally art department in the 70s. He did the art on Lady Luck, in fact. We had Jerry Thompson out from Washington, who is in charge of all the wonderful sound packages on that game. John Borg was there as well, the designer of Rush Pinball, an all-around great dude. It was really cool. Hey, there's Michael himself. What's up, man? How you doing? There was a lot of fun to be had. A lot of people. I think the overarching theme of like a lot of these pinball shows is Soft Plunge Pinball. Oh, hey, thanks. Check it out. The new design from Soft Plunge Pinball. Go check it out. Lots of great merch. Andrew Barney's here. How's it going? A lot of people were just so excited to be back at a show in person, And I think that is really a fun, it's just nice, I'm not a very social person, but it is so nice to get out and see all these people that I've met, at pinball shows or met online, to finally meet them in person. It's really cool. So yeah, it was a good show, lots of neat games. There was a lot of really oddball things. It was interesting to see 3 electromechanical Evel Knievels. That was really neat. Apparently they were all handmade and they're not like factory-made games, so that's just incredible. There was some really oddball games. I know I didn't get to see Nick, but Nick Schnell from the Roanoke Pinball Museum in Virginia brought out a beautiful Gottlieb Kings and Queens, a fantastic game. There were a lot of Double Danger and Soft Plunge, they collectively had a bunch of great games around their booth. There was a Gottlieb Pink Panther, which is a really fun game if you've never seen one of those before. Gosh, the thing is, a lot of times at these shows, you go to talk to people, not necessarily just like play all the games. Maybe that comes from a place of privilege because I kind of have played all the games before. So, yeah, there was a couple oddballs too. The Big Lebowski was there. There was some Pinball Brothers aliens, so the new ones, not the original Highways. So that was super cool. Jersey Jack Pinball brought out a couple of their Guns N' Roses. Steve Ritchie was there. Today we learned Kyle's played every pinball game. Maybe not every pinball game, but I've played a lot of pinball games. I've never played Insanity Falls Homebrew. That's true. There's many homebrews I haven't played. No, there's still a lot of games I've never played. There's just, I don't know. That's the thing, a lot of shows you see like the same 10 games, or not the same 10 games, but the same 100 games, a lot of the newer stuff and all the popular Williams stuff. So anyways, that was a lot of fun. Lots of In-N-Out burger to be had. I got some tasty barbecue here and there, lots of Shiner Box. It was a good time. Yeah, I'm glad to have met some of you guys. So. It feels weird not having a moto here, and I have to use my voice to fill the void for the next 1 hour and 45 minutes. So I'm sorry you have to listen to me. I wish you were there for the Bias as well, man. Send me a text so I can send you that email that John Osborne sent me about Haunted House too. I need to remember to do that. Emoto says you're doing great, now work on pinball. No, I have more announcements to make. I'm going to be in Chicago for the next 2 Tuesdays. So I will not be here next week, and I will not be here the following week. Friend of the show, an all-around super awesome person, Crystal, she will be here, and she actually has some interviews lined up. Her and Emoto are going to speak to some homebrewers. So we're going to supplant PinTech Live and we'll call it Homebrewing Live or something, Homebrewers Live. I think she is going to be speaking to the people at Fast Pinball and also talking with Ryan McQuaid, who designed the amazing Sonic Spinball game. That is a very polished game. It is gorgeous. So yeah, maybe we won't be fixing games, but you can listen to people who make games. So that'll be fun. Yes, I wish we could make Steve do things, but he's super busy. So, Scott Pilgrim or Gauntlet. Those are two very different themes, but they're both really good. So. The Kyle Show. Sonic Spinball will be at MGC. Yeah, gosh, that's coming up soon also. Last announcement before we kind of fiddle with some stuff. The Midwest Gaming Classic is at the last weekend in April. If you're comfortable coming out to a large pinball show, that is a really, really good one to come to. Milwaukee is essentially the middle of the country, so it's really easy for West Coasters and East Coasters to get there. It's a really fun show. It's a big show. I really like maybe call it like the multidisciplinary nerd shows where you have not just the arcade people, right? Pinball and video games. You also have console gamers. You have people that are really into vintage computing. You have board games, card games, all sorts of nerds, all in one place. So it's really cool. Homebrew theme should be Kyle. Yeah, just a tall dude that stumbles through life and can't fit into clothes right. Fishtails, good man. I like the pictures you sent me a few weeks ago. I will be coming to Lodi in May. Yeah, I'm coming to both of the shows in California. If California Extreme happens, I will definitely be there as well. Kyle the Pinball will make Godzilla look like Thunderbirds. Oof. I don't know how to respond to that, but I'm going to let that be. The Lodi show is a good one too. Anyone on the West Coast, the Golden State Pinball Festival is an incredible time. The Golden State Pinball Festival is a strictly pinball show that consistently over the last 3 or 4 times, yeah, that burns. I'm still feeling that, man. The Golden State Pinball Festival has consistently brought in over like 300 pinball games the last couple times it's been held, which is just insane. There's a lot of games. The first thing that I thought about when I was in Texas was like, man, my California show is like the same size. It's nuts. It's really cool. So Pinball Rob 60, howdy. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, Emoto will definitely be there. Yeah, $128 to fly from Boston to Milwaukee. Holy moly. That's nuts. Yeah, you should come. There's no excuse, man. Maybe we can get you a wristband. Anyways, that's enough of me talking. Let's take a look at some game. I think the point we left off at with this game was we could turn it on. I think we had kind of verified that the score reels were okay. I think that we also had gone through all of the stepper units that needed to be gone through. Steve Faith is here. Hey, yeah. Well, thank you. Very much looking forward to coming back to my my home show. I wish that I could bring my Night Moves and my Baby Pac-Man and my Xenon and make sure that my Night Moves follows Grumpy EM Doctor around on high volume the entire time. But unfortunately, it would be hard to ship to California. So I'll have to let other people bring games for me. But yeah, so check that out, Golden State Pinball Festival. So what the next 3 shows I know of are what? We've got Midwest Gaming Classic in a couple weeks. PinFest in Allentown is another show we will be going to, but I will not be at. And then there is the Golden State Pinball Festival from the 13th to the 15th of May, I believe is the dates. So yeah. Anyways, let's see. I didn't bring most of my parts and tools because I kind of forgot, and also conveniently I forgot them because I needed to stick a gigantic box full of camera equipment in the back of my car. I've got money from one of my games from the arcade that I never took out of the envelope, so I'll leave that under my toolbox. Okay. Oh, and I need to go fix roller games. It broke again. Oops, and I just unplugged this. Ugh. My life is just full of fixing all the time. Okay, I need to change the camera views. Let's take a look-see in the back here. And I'll try to keep up with the chat here. Northwest Pinball Show in June and Southern Fried in July. Yeah. That is why I drive a GTI. There is plenty of room for all sorts of stuff. There we go. And then what? On this one, I can turn on that camera. Nice. All right, so you can see my head poking in and out. It was raining so hard here like an hour ago that I had no idea if the internet was going to cut out with our excellent South Carolina infrastructure. What we are missing here right now are Jones plugs. Let's make sure some of these things step through nicely. The player unit seems good. Everything's lined up. I do need to grab the Jones plugs. I believe I lightly brushed the Jones plugs a teeny bit. There are 3 Jones plugs that come from the bottom board of the game, and then there's 1 Jones plug that should come from the play field that is stuck somewhere. So actually I'm going to open up this game really quick. When Kyle needs to do the show solo, he should channel his Mr. Rogers. Yeah, dude, I agree. I'd love to just give a pinball fireside chat. Ugh. I'll put on my shoes. I'll make sure I have some nice white socks to throw on. Ugh. All right, let's get this slightly mildewy glass out of here. I think my plan for this Sunday is to finish this, or try to make a decent amount of progress on this, and then also get my vector ready to throw Mylar down on. Here's the last Jones plug. I'll just throw this towards the back. I think the last Jones plug has a lot to do with the bonus or something like that. I forget what runs through that. Okay. Let's see what the camera is looking at. Point it down a little. Okay, no, I definitely haven't hit these Jones plugs unless I just picked up a nasty bit of cobweb. That's one thing I'll definitely be doing this Sunday as well, is vacuuming out the cabinet and doing some of those sorts of things. I like to hit these and at least clean up the male side of the plug before we throw them in. Generally, I'll take something like I prefer the purple scoury pads because they are a little tougher, but there's nothing wrong with the green ones. The green ones are good in this sort of a case because we are not trying to like really remove. Of course, the last thing we want to do is remove any plating off of these things. That makes connections weak and unstable, but we are trying to just get some of the, the decades worth of crud and stuff off of these plugs. These plugs carry, signals to and from the backboard to the bottom board. So they are very important that they are clean and not tarnished and nasty. It's a simple plug. It's just a peg that you put into a round hole. Look, I'm going to not try to speak in generalizations at all. There are definitely some games that are like way worse for wear than this one. In my experience, I have never needed to go super, super, super crazy with polishing the inside or outside of a Jones plug. I guarantee you that there are games out there, maybe even games that you have or you have worked on that have needed like a really, really solid cleaning. But for the most part, I have never really needed to do much, much more than this. There are some games that I've seen that had like very badly damaged Jones plugs that required a little bit more intensive cleaning, but something like this, just a little quick polish like this, generally will get us well. I'm going to come check the chat in just a second. I hope that you saw me scrubbing these things. But yeah. These are Jones plugs, and these are the receptacles. We can get in a little closer. When I plug them in, I'll try to get a better view so y'all can see. Jones plug bruschetta. Good man. What's going on here? There's so many things to read. Yeah, I actually would agree with the grumpy EM doctor. The green ones aren't good enough to really polish them or to clean them. The purple ones are a little bit tougher, and they definitely have a little bit more bite to them. I really don't think you are in danger of taking off the plating using something like that. They're not nearly abrasive enough. So. Pinball Peanut, what's the white powdery crap you find on Gottlieb's Jones plugs and other hardware? Recently cleaned up my first Gottlieb and it's practically all over everything. It's definitely corrosion of some sort. I think a Gottlieb, I think that this is a high gloss. They use like a high gloss zinc coating on a lot of these things. And it just seems that the way that the steel with the zinc corrodes, it just forms that white powder. I really don't know what it is, but it is crud, and we can leave it at that. So, how clean do the Jones plugs need to be? What do you need to use for the female side? You have to be really pinball cocaine. Yeah, don't snort it. That's very true. Don't. It's gross. I honestly have never gotten into the female side and found a necessity to clean the female side. Now, again, a lot of the games I work on are not dumpster projects. I have worked on plenty of dumpster projects, but this one is not, and a lot of the ones I do work on are not. So I'm not trying to speak in absolutes when I say you don't need to. I don't usually need to. They need to be clean, but they don't need to. I've never found an instance where one of them needed to be like mega polished for it to work or anything like that, but I know everyone does it differently. What do I think about the Dremel 443? I think that that's fine. I think that's a great way to do it, but I've never needed to do that, I guess is what I'm getting at. I think that the female plugs could use, probably do need to be cleaned up, but a lot of the times what I'll do is I'll clean them through friction like this. Plug it in one time, and then unplug it, and then replug it, and then unplug it, and then replug it, and hopefully that will push away any of the crud at the mating surface that these things have. These plugs are not fancy. This is a very old analog style of making a connection. So this plug is a piece of Bakelite. We have a wire that is then adhered to this, it's a metal post, right? And then we've got a stamped out bit here that are squares, but they form a perfect receptacle for this diameter plug. And what I think like the big downside to this, it's like if you guys can imagine like when we talked about those Trifurcon, the three-sided Molex connectors, you've got three little contact points on these things. There's some of that white powdery nastiness that forms on a lot of this stuff. You've got three small contact points. So that's why I'm saying there's no absolute, like where, yes, that you might need to get in and really clean these things sometimes depending on the condition of the game. I can look at this and say that I think this will be fine. This is going to be absolutely okay. This is something that you be careful with these. When these crack, it's a pain in the butt. You can't replace them unless you have other Jones plugs that aren't broken. But when I do plug them in, I want to feel for friction, right? Like if these things just slip in and out without any sort of friction, then you might have a problem somewhere. But as I slide it in, it's got a nice connection. They're really easy to plug in. You can't get them wrong. They were smart enough to never make like any two about the same size. You can't plug them in backwards because if I were to try to plug this one in like this, well, the harness really gets in the way of that plug, right? So they're really simple to install. Just be careful. If they are plugged in and they've been plugged in for decades and you try to remove them, please use like equal force, pull a little bit, pull a little bit, pull a little bit. Don't yank it from one side and crack it in half. You never know how brittle it may be. But yeah, this is how you disconnect the head from the playfield if you haven't gathered. Once these things are all out, there's no harness between these things. So I'm going to hit this one here really quick, and then I'll come see everyone telling me I'm doing it wrong, which is fine. These green ones they lose their firmness really quick, and they become a little too soft, and they don't have the same bite as they used to. These two Jones plugs here these are for like the relay bank. You'll sometimes find another one for the alternating relay. You can see that. See, that one was a little hard to get out, but it's very clean. So I'm going to put that back in. Oh, sorry, I didn't adjust the camera. On these later 4-player games, they made them a little more serviceable. If I wanted to remove the score reel racks to service them on the bench, which is great if you're being super thorough, you can remove them. This is the harness side. This is the bank side. I try not to mess with this stuff too much. Again, it's like when you are really trying to, find a problem in a lot of these games, a lot of the times they're man-made. So when I'm getting into these things before I've powered them on, I only try to touch the things I know I need to mess with before I touch anything else. So there's a lot of Jones plugs in these games. I almost tripped. Y'all are making dumb jokes. I love it. I've never had, Grumpy EM Doctor said, I have never had to clean the female side of a Jones plug. I have had issues resolved by probably cleaning them, but. Okay, yeah, I shouldn't have said something that absolute either. You can plug Jones plugs in wrong. That is absolutely true. Don't listen to me all the time. Where does the Jones come from? Probably the guy that did it, made it. When in doubt, David gives you the absolute correct way to make sure that there isn't an issue. You just always match the colors. It is difficult to match the colors sometimes on an older game because of, let's see if I can get this light on, the way that these wires will fade sometimes, especially if someone had lost the back door and you know, it sat in the sun for a minute. But like, look, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look, here's a space, right, where you absolutely could get these wrong. If these were unhooked or something like that, you could hook these two up wrong. Now, looking at the way it's laid out, we can kind of see that these things kind of want to lay here. So using a little bit of deduction, we could gather that, yeah, okay, well, this one looks like it should go here. But if you don't want to just guess, it looks like it should go, we can see that on this pin, we've got a blue wire to a blue wire, an orange wire to an orange wire, a brown to a brown, a green to a green. Something that looks like it may have been light blue to a matching color. We can also look down here. We can see we've got green, white, and red. Green, white, and red. Yellow, green, red, green. And we've got a match right here too. So that is absolutely the most positive way to figure out where these things go. I don't think it's documented in a manual, you know, how to set these things up. It was kind of just like a given that you know how to do it. So you see these things too. Let's keep looking at things that are like Jones plugs just since we're back here. Here's one for the match feature. If I unplug this Jones plug and it gives me another section to plug it in here, this would disable the match feature. By plugging this in and completing this circuit from yellow and green to white, that will enable the match feature. There's another one here. Here's an adjustment on the bottom. I'm going to assume that the game adjustment might be your special. If you get a special, there's operator adjustment here. If I plug it into this one, it'll give me an extra ball. If I plug it in here, it'll give me a free credit. There's also, you'll use a Jones plug-like setup to set your replays. On the circuit boards attached to some of these score reels, when the circuit aligns in the right way, depending on which plugs are plugged into this Jones plug, that will set the points where you will get free games. Maybe when we are done with this, we can kind of take this apart and I can show you how it works. It's actually pretty easy, even though it is kind of complicated. Actually, what is it set to right now? That's a fake scorecard. I'm going to dig through everything and I'm going to find a better replay value card and we'll match it to that. I always make sure whatever game I work on, the replays are set to what the card says. Unless it's a Bally game with an original computer and I set the replays to 10,000 points and then what the card says. But yeah, we'll get to that a little bit later. I got to come back and check. Be careful with your screwdriver. So yeah, it's like there's just a lot going on. These games are complicated but fun. These are plugged in. Let's go around to the front. I'm going to try to keep the fourth wall unbroken here by maneuvering things around a little bit. Let's move this camera. Actually, this camera can just live here for a second. Let's make sure that nothing is weird under the play field again, since it's been weeks and weeks and weeks since we've really touched this thing. We have our coin unit here, which steps just fine. We have our bonus unit here, which is also stepping absolutely fine. We serviced that one. I think I serviced both of the alternating relays. The motor doesn't have anything dragging on it. Nothing looks like it's ever caught on fire. There is a little bit of goofy wiring going on here that I'm going to try to figure out. I think we've got 2 coin counters in the bottom of the game. Hold on, let's see. I think one of these was set up. This was an era of pinball where things were switching to quarters and not just dimes and nickels. I have a feeling that one of these meters was like how many games played, and one of them might have been how many quarters were, deposited or something like that. We'll see if we can find evidence of that later, but let's get it working, and then I can remove the goofy wiring that we really don't want in the game anymore, unless it just works, and then I'll just leave it alone. But as we can see, this game was probably in a very profitable location or a big coin op place. I'm going to assume maybe a boardwalk or something like that. I believe this game came out of the Charleston area in South Carolina, so it could have been in some sort of a touristy sort of spot, and this would have been important to keep track of how many people were putting in a quarter for like 3 games as opposed to maybe a dime for 1 or something like that. So I'm going to say let's plug it in. Did we take these plugs out? Yeah, these all look okay. They just have a lot of that nasty white powdery ickiness. This plug is not grounded anymore. I might replace the cord depending on what the customer says. Okay, let's see what we get. I think I will shut the playfield. These games do have power switches. Some electromechanical games will kind of like always be on. Let's see what the chat's saying. Yes, read everything that Grumpy EM Doctor says because he knows what he's talking about. You should, Bad Out of Hell by Meatloaf, you should talk with Grumpy EM Doctor on how to wire up wedge heads for 50 cents. It's a little more complicated. I think he has done it successfully using like a score reel and the circuit board on a score reel. So like every time it steps, it will hit 1, and then the next time it steps, that's connected to the start. Anyways, let's power the game on and let's see what happens. We don't have a credit, so instead of putting it like on a free play mode right now, I'm just going to rack up as many credits as it will let me. I'm going to power it on. It's a push button on these older games, so. Okay, well, it powered right up. The hold relay is obnoxious, or the coin lockout relay is really obnoxious. It powered right up. That's a little weird, straight into a game. Let's see what happens. If I turn it on and off again, will it go straight into tilt? If I put my finger here, it's not trying to, oh wait, hold on. There's another switch to hit. Huh. Okay, it's all done. I'm using my brain here really quick. I hit the, okay, first off, I'm going to cut the coin lockout relay wire because it's really annoying, and I will figure that out later. Actually, I'm not going to cut it. That's what monsters do. We will unsolder it. Hold on. Ugh. The coin lockout relay. There is a relay on the coin door of a lot of older games, and what that does is it is there to not allow you to put a coin in when the game cannot accept the coin. Putting a coin in makes the score motor turn, which after it does its thinking, it will add a credit. So if you put 2 coins in while it's trying to add the first coin, you would lose some money. So that relay will de-energize and make the coin automatically reject. If the game has a maximum amount of credits, which I think it actually does right now, that will also trigger the coin lockout relay to energize, which will not allow you to put any more money into it. No, don't worry, I don't cut. I'm not a monster. We're going to unsolder. And we will very gently get one of these wires out of the way. and keep it somewhere safe where it will not short out or do anything goofy. What I'm doing is, if you didn't hear that loud buzzing noise, that was the coin lockout relay coil making a crap ton of noise. I'm just going to disable it for now. We will likely just remove it, since this game will not see commercial operation ever again, which is totally okay by me. This coin door also needs to come out for a lot of cleaning. There's a lot of soda and nastiness here. So what else is going on? Someone has cut the slam tilt switch and tied the wires together. That's correct. They have to, it's a normally closed switch. When it opens, it slam tilts. Yeah, a bunch of people heard that. The coin door relay is not needed for the game to work unless you wanted it to never not accept a coin, which really we don't have to worry about that. Most people do not put these games on commercial operation anyways. Okay, there is something strange going on. The game is, there is a relay buzzing under there. I want to figure out what it is. It's probably the lock relay, but when we listen to these relays buzz, that means that they're on. There are very few relays that are supposed to stay on for a very long time. If that relay is not supposed to be on, it will burn up, and that's bad. So what I'll do here, I'm just going to turn the game on and watch this bank of relays and see which one is stuck on. If it's the lock relay or the hold relay, whatever Gottlieb called it, that's fine. It's the first ball and the game over relay. Let's see here. I don't know why the first ball relay is latched when the game over relay is on. This is where we'll need to bust out the schematic eventually. We also have David here. He can also look at these things while I fiddle with things. Yes, I did suppress the monster in front of me, inside of me. Oh, see, David's here with the knowledge. So there is something weird going on where we had a game that generally these games should power up into tilt, right? I'm trying to figure out how I can explain why they power up into tilt. But I guess it's so, of course, like, you know, if you're playing a game and you turn it off or something like that, you don't want it to come back in the same state that it was in, which would be like game playable, etc. So when the games turn off, they power up into tilt, essentially, which means that everything has been taken out, right? You come to a clean slate. So there's the tilt hold relay. The start relay is this guy here. So I can't even tilt the game here. Okay, so David, let's look at the schematic together. I know I've sent you this one before, but we've got a first ball relay. That is the coin door schematic. Oh crap, do I not have the schematic for this game? I think I only have the coin door schematic. That'll make things fun. Okay, well, I guess I actually won't be doing much on this game today because I don't have the schematic, unless it's in this bag here. I don't remember which one this is. This might be planets. Ah, yes, that's Zodiac. All right, cool. So we don't have a schematic, so we will just have to poke around. He is looking for us. I'm afraid, so the reason I'm not keeping this game on right now is because that first ball relay will be energized, I think, the entire time the first ball is in play. But it shouldn't be right now. The strange thing, again, like I was saying with it powering up into tilt, when I pushed that switch, the game should have come on, the light should have come on, and it would just sit there dead. Right now, right when I turned it on, it started a game. There's a few things I'm going to check. I'm going to make sure that the coin door has not been absolutely mangled. It has been mangled slightly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that like the coin switches have not been totally bent out of shape. Because just turning the game on immediately, and if a coin switch is shut, it will try to start a game. That is not mangled, so that one's okay. With these electromechanical games, I think I explained it once, like you do not add credits. When you put a coin into one of these games, you start the game. The credit unit there is there to kind of take care of your replays. I think unless you're using like a fancy denomination, like if you were to put in three games for a quarter or something like that, it might kick the credit counter up 3 times, I think. I'm not 100% sure. This guy is really stuck in there. I will come back and check the chat in just 1 second. Oh, yeah, that one's really stuck. Okay, I can probably see the coin switch, and that one's okay, so it isn't mangled. Let's make sure nothing goofy is going on with the coin door Jones plug. It doesn't look like anything is shorting out there. I also need to remember how these things start, so we will have to look at the start and coin. Check the AX relay and switches. Tilt should be on except following a tilt. So the H relay should be on except for after a tilt, which it will open. Check the AX relay and switches. Thank you, David. If it wasn't for him, we would be very lost, since I do not have the schematic for this game with me. I could have sworn it was in the game, but it was not. So the AX relay is a I don't actually, you know what? I just totally had a brain fart. I do not remember what it is called. It is a relay that has a trip and a latch. So when one relay coil goes, it will hold itself. It does not need to stay on to hold itself on. And there's a second coil on that little bank that will, if it energizes, it will disengage the entire relay. The little hairpin has snapped a little too far in, so now I need to use a tool to get it out. But the AX relay is the frontmost relay here. Interlock relay, that's what it is, thank you, or a latching relay. Let me also bring this light around so you guys can see a little bit better, I'm sorry. If Emoto was here, she'd be like, light, light, let there be light. Okay, there's a little bit more light. I can also bring this camera around when it's time to take a look-see, which is now. So this is the AX relay. This is our latching relay or interlock relay. So when this relay coil fires, it pulls in, which will then actuate and do what it needs to do with this bank of relays. Open some, close some. And it will not need to activate more than one time because when it pulls itself in, the armature for this relay coil here extends and holds the first armature in. Now, when this one is called to do its job, it pulls in and the entire thing resets. So I'm going to take a quick look at all of these switches and make sure that they are changing states. I do need to bring this light closer now for myself. I've got a mess of wires here. Well, first off, let's unplug the soldering iron. Don't need that anymore. Okay. Let's bring this sucker down a bit. Ah, look at all that light. Glorious, glorious light. I'm thinking we should have had David come on this show live, but
we had only a moment to prepare for this since we've been quite busy since getting back from Texas. The armature, oh yeah, that's all wrong. It is in a perma, oh, well, first off, these have fallen out of their homes in the relay armature. Let's get these back in. Okay. Yeah, I think we've got a majority of these switches are not opening or closing. They're adjusted much too close. A lot of people do like taking the bottom boards out and inspecting things right off the bat. Looking at this game, I did not think that needed to happen. I still do not. Adjusting one AX relay inside the game is totally fine with me, but let's see how far this gets. I'm gonna get my switch adjuster here. Good job, David. He's the master. So what I'm seeing here, and is going to be kind of difficult to show with the camera, since these things are, the amount of movement I can get on these is dictated by the wiring harness. What we have here are 2 make-break switches, and then we've got 6 normally closed switches when it is in its resting or unlatched state. When it is latched, we should have, actually no, I'm sorry. We have 4 normally closed switches and 2 normally open switches. So what I need to do is I need to make sure in one state these top 2 are closed, and then in the second state they are also closed, and then prescribed for each of the other ones opposite of their normal resting state. So sometimes I'll sit here and I'll look at these things 3 or 4 times to make sure I can kind of just autopilot it. It is very difficult to do this without light. Light is the absolute #1 most important tool in your toolbox. So I would absolutely recommend making sure you have like plenty of light all the time. I think we will also try to, I mentioned this a while ago, but we always want to make sure we tighten everything down too. Sometimes you can get a lot of switch adjustments out of the way by making sure that they are tight in their stack. So let's see how many turns we can get on these screws as we try to tighten them. Oh, a lot. There's a half, 3/4 of a rotation there. You might ask, well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, when you squish all these back down together, you are changing where the blades sit and how much tension they have on them from the get-go. So sometimes that's almost another full turn. A lot of the times if it's just like a 1/4 turn or something like that, I don't really think twice about it, but a lot of these I'm getting a full dang turn on, and that's a lot. Now let's reevaluate. Man, that's close. What I'm going to do is since I don't have a ton of light, I am going to get a white background paper to put behind something so I can really see when they've changed states. You really don't want to leave this up to guess, because if you feel like you've done what you thought you had to do with the AX relay or whatnot, if you feel like you've done, you won't come back to it. So let's make sure we have it set up correctly. So I'm going to use this foam, and that will help me see a lot of these switches if they actually open or not. They open just ever so slightly, but they're all open. I'm going to check the top make breaks. It looks like I don't have enough open switch on the top, so I'm going to kind of adjust those ones down a teeny bit. A lot of the times I will do this with just my fingers. You have to be very careful. Sometimes the amount of torque you can put on a switch with a tool will get you way out of whack. that looks okay. I still am not confident in this one being open enough, so I will use the switch adjuster here, and I'll open up the stationary blade. Remember, the long blade on one of these make-break switches is actuated by this relay armature. So you've got stationary blades, and that's what you're adjusting. Okay, that's positive make, positive break. These ones actually are not making a lot of contact now. The hard thing with adjusting a big stack of switches like this in one of these relay banks is that there is a lot of tension being put on the actual armature. It's kind of a dancing, balancing act between what can I impart on it with my finger. Hold on, now I'm reading what David is saying here. But those stacks took that much tightening. It might be a game where you need to check all the relays. Ugh. Yeah, no, I'm kind of slowly realizing that now too, which is fine. This game deserves the work, but it is slowly piling up to be a very tedious. This is going to be a tedious project, but that's why I'm going to sit down here on Sunday and do it. It's going to be a birthday treat to myself, actually working on pinball machines again. So, but what I'm doing here is just making sure that under normal, what I was saying was under normal circumstances, right? I can push this down and then release it, but then I can also push up on this and that will change the state, but that's not natural, right? That's not what gravity with the springs and the tension of the switches will get it. So we need to make sure we adjust it to exactly how the game will be able to move these things. This is an exercise in patience. Okay, those definitely all open, and they close. What I'm doing is I'm poking the normally closed upper switches to make sure that they are actually closed. And when I butt them down against the switch, they are making contact. These normally open switches are kind of suspect. They are open just a little bit, but you have to remember that this entire assembly really only actuates, a 1/16 of an inch, an 1/8 of an inch, it's barely anything. And trying to get all 10 of these switches to act in unison is difficult. But again, it's all about patience when it comes to these sorts of things. I'm going to say let's try it now and see what it does. I think I will sample another relay somewhere just in case. Let's also catch up with the chat. Oh, the last thing we had was David. Thank you. I don't know if it's a temperature thing. A lot of games, especially in the southeast where it is a humid hellhole, they do tend to go through more extreme temperature cycles, even if they are, climate controlled, because who knows how actually climate controlled things are. But I wonder if there is something about that, with the switch stacks, changing temperature, absorbing and losing moisture, and that is what makes them loosen up a little bit. It is really important that unless you live in California where the temperatures don't change at all, most of California, to keep your games climate controlled. Oh yeah, Daniel and I have the same birthday. Happy almost birthday, my friend. Okay, let's turn this thing on and see what happens now. Okay, David, so we still have a game over relay and a first ball relay energized. So I think the game over is correct. I do not have a tilt, but I think you said that is normal. because the tilt relay actuates when the tilt relay pulls in when a tilt condition happens. So we still have a first ball relay stuck on. The first ball relay generally you'll see things like a first ball relay and a last ball relay. A lot of the times, like a last ball relay, its job will be to actuate like double bonus for all players or something like that. Oh, change the state of the AX by hand. Okay, and then we have to hit the ball. Well, let's see. If I hit the trough switch, nothing happens. If I hit the ball, finish the trough. Okay, we got our big bank resetting. I don't have flippers. We definitely are not in a game. I don't have any lights saying which player is up. I saw that the third and first player lights were lit up at the same time, so I feel like I want to take a look at the player unit really quick. Let's fire the game back up here really quick. Just be cognizant that okay, now we're in a state of game because I got a point. Okay, hold on. We also have a 10-point switch that's stuck. We heard the chime go off right away. So let me feel for which chime it was. I think that was the 100-point chime. Judging by the tone, we'll start another game with the start button here. That was the 10-point chime. We definitely have a 10-pointer stuck, so let's make sure that we don't have any stuck switches. Let's make sure that the 10-point relay in the back is functioning. I'm going to come back here really quick. I think N is the 10-point relay. Let me yank that out really quick. Generally, N is 10, M is 100, and L is 1,000. Check your schematic. That looks fine. None of the switches are stuck shut. They're plenty open. We'll probably have a stuck switch on the play field, or you know what it is? Actually, it's probably the spinner. Since I have the playfield up, the spinner is, instead of being in this state, it's in this state, and it's closing the spinner switch. So I think we'll start it up again, and I will put a piece of paper between the spinner switch contacts, and that'll probably solve that problem. So we'll see. Oh, thank you. Ha! Score was probably a spinner. Spinner, someone yell it to me. Hey, look, at least it took me 5 seconds to figure that out, but we checked the all other probable things. Nobody could have predicted that, no. Hey, like I told you, I don't do this every day anymore, so these things come back to me slowly. Okay, I'll use part of this wonderful post office cardboard bit. Weird question, but remember the Gap commercial from the 90s where they just chanted, "Fall into the gap"? I don't remember that. That sounds really scary in a great way. Where is the spinner on this game? It is literally under this relay bank. So where's the switch? Right there, right where it's hard to get to. That's fine. Let's solve this problem here. Usually you won't have stuck switches like this on old games that you haven't re-rubbered. A lot of the times you'll get stuck switches like right when you re-rubber a game because you didn't check the switch gap and the rubbers are a lot tighter than the old ones. So spinner. Okay, now we can turn this game back on. The first ball relay still stays latched, so I need to figure that one out eventually, but we can hit the start button. It does everything it should. The fourth player score reel bit light is out. We should be able to get the ball to eject from the trough. Bam. And then the ball will roll over this switch, which will be go. And now we should have flippers. Okay, so we actually have a game that is starting and restarting now. One thing I like to do to really test the reset circuit, this might be a little overkill, is I'll go to the back here and I'll put 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Put ones on everything. So that means the game has to step forward 9 whole times to get back to 0 to really make sure that all of those switches are adjusted just right. It's alive, yeah. So anyways, I don't expect everything to function on this game. At this point, now that we have it resetting, I feel confident enough that we would be able to do a good clean underneath. We could do a good clean up top, re-rubber, put it back together, and then that's when I would put it through its paces. I'd try to do all of the cleaning at one point, though. I like to kind of split game work into like the dirty and the clean phases. So, yeah, someone has painted the top of this apron yellow. That is kind of unfortunate. I think what I'm going to do, instead of like making any drastic cosmetic changes, sorry, we're using a weird camera we don't normally use for the main camera. Hiramoto's probably screaming at me for having this light facing the camera too. But what we'll probably do is I'm going to take this thing out and I'm going to clean the heads of these screws and at least make them silver again. I'll clean the rebound bracket. Someone spray painted it when it was all together. It's just travesty. There's a couple bits of missing hardware. These pop bumpers need to be rebuilt and replaced with some non-absolutely faded pop bumper bodies. There's a lot of white posts that I'm going to need to replace. This game has a Harlem Globetrotters spinner in it, which is kind of amazing and hilarious, but we have a game that does something. Let's put a pinball in it and make sure that the rest of the logic of the game works. I'm not going to bat it around, but the pinball is easier than sticking my finger in the out hole. So the things I like to do while working on electromechanical games is, again, we're testing through the mechanical logic of the game to make sure it can start a game. Let's also make sure it knows how to end a game. We also have to make sure that this game can do a multiplayer game, step through all of them, start and end. We need to make sure all of the score reels carry over. I'll test all 4 players. You have to. If you have an error with a 3rd or a 4th player and you're like, well, most people just play 1-player games anyways, why would I need to check everything? That's a service call when that person has a party and they play a 4-player game and then the game won't reset because this is stuck on 1, right? So you really have to be thorough going through all of these things. Other bits of logic in this game, right? This game can score 1 or 10, 100, 1,000 points at a time, but there are some things on this game that will score 500 points. That involves the motor. Let's make sure it can score 500 points. It can't. It can't score anything. Ball 1, player 1. The lights are out now. Maybe we have something off on the player unit here. I need to make sure that this is installed and done correctly. It is on ball 1, player 1. So let's see what we get when we step it once. Ball 2, player 1. Okay, so it looked like it was halfway in between something. Ball 2, player 2. Ball 2, player 3. Ball 2, player 4. Ball 3, player 1. Okay, you can't get anything there. What if I... Oh. The M relay was stuck on there. So something with the 500 point relay was keeping that stuck on, but we're also not getting any action to the score reel. I believe all of that travels through the player unit, so there might be a switch stack or two that could be out of adjustment. I do have 10 points though. What about the thousands? Does that work? Oh, the thousands was stuck on too. Okay. So the 100 pointer isn't working. Let's swap to another player and see. Okay, so our problem with the 100 point reel is shared between all 4 players. So we have to go check what is shared there. It's probably going to be extraordinarily simple. I just don't have a schematic to look at it now. So at least we know some of these things, some of the scoring features are working.
let's see. I have no 4-player lights either. I think there's one switch on the stack that controls the lights depending on where the cam has rotated. So actually, I'll look at that really quick because we're on player 1, player 2, player 3. Or it just so happens that that Jones plug could be dirty. Or all the lights are burnt out. That's not out of this question. That's good. No, I mean, that's kind of fun. There are some things to do. I think the player unit definitely could use a little bit more love. It does feel like it is, it needs just a teeny bit of help sometimes, but I'm also pushing the plunger very gently. So really quick here, let's reset the game. Let's watch the score reels do something. That's great. On a 4-player game, that is the giant pain in the butt, is making sure all these score reels are snappy. And we had a good portion of them. You saw them as they all reset there. That is big. So we're missing hundreds. So let's try things that, gosh, what gives less than 100? I mean, there's a rebound switch here, right? So the signal from here is getting up there. That's all good. 500-point relay is not working. Let me unstick that. Let's see where the 500-point relay is. That's probably on the bottom board. Mike McKenna's here with some great insights. Let's see what's going on here too. What is the nice, oh, you know what? I had the paper in there blocking the spinner. Good thing I wasn't focusing on that. One thing you will notice when you work on a lot of these older Gottlieb games too is I can see them now. When you reach into the back of the game, you're going to see all sorts of lovely stickers that have lost their adhesion. Open circuit to relay button. Right and left pop bumper relay. Player unit. Extra ball relay. Almost all of these relays were labeled. All of them still are labeled here, like on the actual relay cage. F, C, R, A, or B, A. But a lot of the times they would also have their function pasted on them as well. Those things generally will fall off. I try to save them. I mean, at least put them into the envelope that lives in the game or something like that. But like now I'm sitting here being, oh, well, where's the 500-point relay? Where can I find to fiddle with that? If the game hasn't lost all of its adhesion, we'd be able to find it quite easy. But the sticker adhesion. 100-point is not scoring for all players. It's probably a switch on the 100-point relay itself. That's true. Well, yes, the common switch, just like Mike McKenna said. Let's give it a quick wipe with a scrubby, and we'll see what we can get. I think we kind of goofed off with an EM one time, and we were like shorting out switches on scoring relays to figure out, to show, well, like, okay, look, this switch here, it does just the chime. So if I just short these out, we'll get just chimes. Those are actually really grody, so that is a good first check. We will make sure we adjust them so they have good action and they close before the relay armature gets to the most bottom extent. You don't want to adjust them so you don't want to adjust the stationary blade so it'll hold up the relay armature. That can cause weird things to happen, but we also want to make sure that they're not making just this much contact right at the end of its travel, because that will give you inconsistent results. That looks okay. Sorry, I'm not moving cameras. I'm just trying to see if we can get a little bit more life into this thing. Let's stick this guy back in. So I'm trying to get the cotter pin in here. Okay, let's try again.
I don't remember if on these newer Gottlieb games if you need to actually kick the ball and then hit this. I don't think so. I think there's only certain states when it might need that. Actually, is this switch actually closing? Yeah, it is. Okay, let's try to hit the 500-point switch again. Hit one time. The relay is stuck on, and we had no score. Okay, so I think we might have a problem here with the, let me hand actuate all of these really quick. So the top switch is the chime. The middle switch is the actual one that runs the score reel. Okay, it seems to be working now. Just needed a little bit of attention. Didn't want to be left alone. Also, let's tighten those up. Let's see how bad these ones are too. Because this Sunday might just turn into Kyle tightening relays for 2.5 hours and then doing 2.5 hours of cosmetic work. Oh. Yeah, that one's pretty loosey-goosey. A good half turn. If y'all remember, maybe we were working on Jack in the Box a while ago, and Jack in the Box had a score reel that would work inconsistently, and the relay would stick on. And what we found, or no, actually I think that was Planets. With Planets we had a score reel that wouldn't, or a relay that wouldn't unlatch itself, and that's because we found that the end of stroke switch on the actual score reel was not adjusted right, or was missing, and then we fixed it. Sorry, I gotta read the chat now. You could sell a baggie of those labels with the same font as the original and make some moolah. Yes. The magical pinball mystery powder. That is true. Mike McKenna, I think that when we did hit the 500-point switch, the motor did run. I'm trying to find where the 500-point relay is really quick. I know it's generally a simple one. I think, oh, here it is. It's relay D. Okay, so it's working now. We had a switch on the actual scoring relay that was not making contact. What we have on that relay is there's 3 switches. One runs the chime, one runs the score reel coil, and one of them is a hold yourself on switch. It just keeps the relay energized when the relay armature is down. The relay will turn itself off when the score reel has opened and closed and it has actuated a switch, which is, we'd call it like the end of stroke switch, and that will kill the relay. That's a circuit for a very basic 100-point score. Things are a little more complicated with an EM game when it needs to add up more than 1. So for 500 points, there is a relay in here that will latch on, which will then latch the scoring relay on. And then there is a switch on the motor that I think Gottlieb games, the motor, every time it's activated, it runs 180 degrees, or how many degrees is it? Where's the switch that activates the motor? Well, hell, I'll just hit a switch here. I think it's 180 degrees, yeah. So there's a cam on the motor. While the motor is spinning, there is a cam that in 180 degrees, there is a set of switches that will be opened and closed 5 times. So the engineer has programmed it to work this way. The 500-point switch is hit 1/3 of a rotation. So that's, I'm not going to try to do math live. I don't need to do this. You guys understand what 1/3 of 360 degrees is. Anyways, you'll hit a 500-point switch. The 100-point relay will, or the 500-point relay will latch on. The 100-point relay will latch on. And those things happen simultaneously. 120 degrees. Thank you for doing math for me. I should be able to do that. Then the 500-point relay, when the 500-point and the scoring relay latch on at the same time, when the 500-point relay latches on, it also runs the motor. there is a switch on the motor that then opens and closes 5 times in 120 degrees. And while the scoring relay is still shut, it will add up 5 times through that circuit. It sounds complicated. It is complicated. It's incredibly complicated and amazing, but it's pretty simple. It took me a long time to be able to visualize these things, but that is how I've gained a bit of a basic knowledge and understanding on how to work on electromechanical games when I really tried to visualize what was going on. It's really easy for me to just laugh and say, haha, magic, that's how it works, but that isn't 100% useful for learning all the time. So I've tried to learn to visualize some of these things better, and it really helps me because I'm a very visual learner. Anyways, this one also has a special relay here. I noticed it's the 500 point and add bonus relay. So while that one switch I was hitting will do both of those things at the same time. So I'm going to look at the chat now because I just rambled and said a bunch of dumb stuff. Scoring relays also have a switch for doing carryover. You read the schematic. Yeah, that's great information. David, can you please respond to Kung Shu's question here? I'm not actually 100% sure. Does the 100 point relay have a latch, or is it a hold switch on the switch? I mean, I don't know. We could look at it too. No, it has a hold on switch. There is one switch on the switch stack which is also attached to the coil, so it will hold itself on until there is a function that thank you for telling me not to talk down to myself. I appreciate it. I need to watch myself when I do that. I do feel like I am not very eloquent all the time, and when I'm trying to explain some complex things, I am not as eloquent as I should be when I'm in a position to explain, but I digress. Let's try some other complicated scoring here really quick, just to see what else it will do. Completing the targets and star rollovers resets targets, scores 5,000, and lifts bottom rollovers. I don't need the playfield to do that. I guess I actually could just hit the 5,000 point relay down here and see what that will do if we can get 5,000 points reliably up here. Perfect. Okay. So some of those more complex scoring features are working right. I think I'd also like to, oops, that's counting down bonus. Let's add up some bonus. And let's drain the ball. How many points in bonus do I have? 7,000. So I should have 14,100 points when I drain. Okay, I guess I had double bonus lit and I didn't know it because I have more points than that. Or it was counting it down totally wrong. So I need to double check this now. Ball in play 1, but we don't have any player lights lit. What am I going to score if I hit something then? Player 4 is going now? Well, that's odd. I'm wondering if the player unit was assembled incorrectly, and then I put it back incorrectly because we're getting some weird stuff. Let's also make sure, I think I was screwing with the player unit. Let's actually start up a fresh game and see what happens here. Z1, Z2 relays have done their job. Now we are in ball 1, player 1. Eject that ball. Let me see what's going on in the chat here. The 500 point relay has a hold switch in conjunction with the switch on the motor. It will keep it on for 1 cycle of the motor. Mike McKenna, thank you for the compliments. I will keep at it. I'm thankful you joined us for a minute. Have fun at work. I'd like to spend some time looking at the score motor, but I'll be honest, like when I said oh, there's magic, a lot of what I perceive with the score motor is magic. There are things that we can look at. I just don't feel 100% confident explaining a lot of it. But the The score motor is what allows the game to perform more complex functions as opposed to just direct, like 100 points, close the relay one time, move this one time, and when this moves back, turn the relay off. The score motor allows you to do those things like I tried to explain with the 500 points. In that third of a rotation, 120 degrees, it allows that relay or a switch to flap 5 times, which will allow 500 points to get up here. It's pretty amazing. When you look at some of this stuff, it is really amazing that these things actually work. But let's see. So 500 points there. We have 1,000 points in bonus. Let's get another one. 2,000, 3,000 points in bonus. Let's drain. It added up correctly. I actually should have to keep it there for long enough for it to register that it was done. Kicks out. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is strange because now it's resetting down to player 4. So what I need to do is I need to make sure that now I need to go back to the player unit. This kind of is why I like to work on all the steppers before we do anything else. Because either for lack of cleanliness or something else, when it was it did try to step 4 times, but it only made it 3 places. Remember how that thing works is it's got 15 steps. So player 1, ball 1, and then it will step 1 time to player 2, ball 1, another time player 3, ball 1, another time player 4, ball 1. So if I'm playing a 1-player game, it should step 4 times, bypassing player 2, player 3, player 4, and back up to player 1. I think I heard it go 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's still stuck on player 4. Let's see what it does now. I'm going to drain. Dun, 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 dun. It stepped 5 times. Okay, let's do something else. Let's see. Let's add a little bit more bonus. Let's get 3,000 points of bonus again. We'll drain the ball. One thing, I'm not going to jump to any crazy conclusions yet until we let the game kind of work its cobwebs out. Like I said, this portion of the fixing of the game involves a lot of cleaning, involves a lot of poking, making sure that these things work right. And sometimes you can get these weird little problems to kind of blow the cobwebs out, and we might see that weird step there might ever not happen again. Kick, and then we hit the rollover. It's kind of stepping back to player 1 now. The ball 5 light's gone. The last ball relay is working because now we have an instant 2x bonus. We should get 2,000 points in bonus here. We did. We drained the ball. Game over. So the match lights are kind of working. We've got good bones. The heart is beating. I think that we're lucky that this kind of came together the way it did. What time is it? Holy crap! It's 4:30. Let me check. Yeah, in Croatia it's 10:30. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, it's beer o'clock here too, man. It's after 4. Magical computers, they are. Spring on the player unit too tight. That is a possibility, Kung Shu, but we'll see how it works itself out. Insanity Falls is being punny. Take it to church. I am the priest, I guess, right now. Crafty Vampire did his first flipper rebuild. Great job, man. What game did you do? And I'm happy for you. There's not a separate ball count unit. There is a player unit. There is a credit unit that will count out 1, 2, 3, 4 to tell the player unit how many steps it needs to take before it runs to the next, or what player it should be on. So, yeah. Shell Shock, the 1 and 4 are lit. This was Gottlieb's funny way of trying to get people to use the more expensive 4-player version of the game. So you can play up to 4 players. This number that is lit up here is the match number. So if this said 60, if I had 60 points and the match unit laid in on 60 points, I would get a free credit. That's how they did the match. So I can actually go back here and I can fiddle with the relay that I believe we rebuilt this one. I know we did the one in the front. I thought we did both. Hold on. But I can fiddle with this, and I could get the match number to change. Oh, I didn't do it well enough. It's kind of hard because, here, let me just take it out. It's too late for me to get a free credit off of it, but actually I didn't service this unit. Maybe I'll do that while we sit here and talk. But actually it's so bad I can barely get it to step. But this is how we can check and make sure all the match lights are working, is by fiddling with this stepper here. But I should service it. It's actually quite gunky. I think what I was trying to say a second ago is we're lucky, I'm lucky, because I'm the one doing the work, that this didn't require a ton more of investigation. Now, I say that like there isn't going to be any. There's probably a lot of opportunity that a large chance I'll need to get in here and try to figure out some more logic issues, but I'm glad that it kind of just roared to life, if that makes sense. Little things here and there, but I have a feeling I'll spend more time doing cosmetic things than I will debugging logic issues. So, yeah, and good job on the. I think we spoke about a flipper rebuild on your Game of Thrones maybe a couple weeks ago. Good job. Stern flipper rebuilds are easy. Stern flippers are really, really reliable. It's just a great unit. So. Replaced everything. Coil, base plate, had a sheared screw. That's the only problem with Stern flipper units, is that it seems like sometimes those screws do like to shear, but it's not like Williams did not have the same problem. So, hey, a raid. Oh man, I'm sorry. Johnny Demonic, thanks for the raid, dude. I'm all sitting here like tooting my own horn like, oh great, we don't have to do as much work on this thing, haha, and you're raiding us. That's awesome. Thank you so much. For anyone who's never been to this channel, we fix pinball machines, and we've been kind of goofing around on this Gottlieb Surf Champ for a little while, and it's kind of sprung to life. And in the last 30 minutes of the show, I like to sit down and talk shop with people, and I figure I'll just service this mini stepper while we do that too. So, thank you. EM Repairs, that's right. Hi, Blue Continental. Ron Paul 420, you've been here before. The best username, I think, in the channel. Surf Champ is a great game. Ed Karinsky. Oh, yeah, geez. Man, you thought hard for that one, didn't you? It's a great game. Surf Champ, this is a game that I think we will stream some gameplay of before I give it back to the customer. It's a solid game with some good, easy to learn, hard to master rules. I really do enjoy lighting the, the saucer, and then just lighting it for maximum points and then just shooting it and getting thousands of points in one go. We don't fix pinball machine. Kyle fixes them while we bother him. Yes, but I am honored to have you guys bother me while I do it. It's wonderful. Hydrate. I'll have to go find a beverage. I will. Oh yeah, no. You know what? That is my favorite. I am one of the very few lucky people that gets paid to play pinball. It is absolutely part of my job. When we need to get these, make sure the game works. So, got to play it before you give it to the customer. These Gottlieb games of this era, once you breathe a little bit of life into them, they're extraordinarily reliable. They're great games. They're very tough. Some things on these games are very difficult to service, but once you breathe life back into them and you play them, they are very reliable for the long run. I used to operate a decent amount of electromechanical pinball machines in arcades. And to be honest, they were the least headache pinball machines I had on location, just because they just work. Once you get them right, they're good. Hey Kyle, what System 11 game do you think deserves a 2.0 rules facelift? I don't know, man. Like, I like the 2.0 stuff. I think it's really cool. But I also really do appreciate the games for what they were. That being said, I think there are some games that could be done a little different and a little better. I would really like to see, I would like to see a game like Roller Games, or maybe a game like Whirlwind or Earthshaker have a little bit more legs to them. Now, that being said, like Earthshaker is one of my favorite games of all time. I'm sorry, Whirlwind is probably my favorite pinball machine. Roller Games, but the theme song's even louder, yes. And we'll have a giant subwoofer that only comes on when you get a jackpot and makes it even more obnoxious. But it would be fun. Some of those games were right on the cusp where, like, if those layouts came out 2 or 3 years later, they would be like a mode-based game. I don't think that pinball needs to have modes to be better, but I do. But I really like classics a lot more than most people. I do think that the classic Steve Ritchie invention of get multi-ball and then shoot for a jackpot really is just perfect, It says go for the wall every time you flip. Now, I'd pay for that. I have a 5-bank drop target to install in my Roller Games. The original prototypes did have a 5-bank instead of just the stand-up targets on the left. The problem is the software to run the drop target version is missing a lot of the really cool updated software stuff that came with the more recent revisions. That being said, I know the man who wrote the software for Roller Games, and maybe if I slip him a couple Benjamins, I could get him to recompile it and add the drop target revision back in or something. So check it out. I actually brought my PBR grease. It's going to be blown out from the ring light. But this, I'm going to try it out. I've just been using CV grease forever. But Steve Young says that this is a reformulation kind of the original like coin op lube grease that Gottlieb would have provided to distributors and suppliers and stuff like that. So I'm going to use some. But what we did here with this little stepper unit is I just filed off, sorry, God, my voice isn't working. I fiberglass brushed off all the gunk, and now we will reassemble it. And I can kind of show you what this amazing little stepper unit does. It's a miniaturized stepper. Takes up a lot less room than a giant stepper, but does a good job. But since it's smaller, there's a whole lot less. It's a lot harder to also put the right amount of force on them, so to actually step through. So they do require a bit of finagling. The biggest advice I could give you if I actually don't describe what these things do or how they work is to only take apart one side at a time. That is the best advice I could give you. Let's do the other side really quick. Super psyched about the stuff Fast showed at TPF. I'm thinking about a new project. Can't decide what game to fiddle with. Man, I am sad that I didn't get to go over and see or go to the Fast pinball panel. I know my coworker Crystal did, and I need to have her inform me about it. But I tell you what, maybe it was all the beer and other delicious liqueurs I enjoyed in Texas, but I dreamt up a pinball layout, which is kind of a mashup of a few of my favorite games with some unique and more modern twists put onto things. And Jack Danger posted this like Photoshop document a long time ago of like just like a bottom of a pinball game and the rest of it's blank. And I drew for a long time last night, and I think I've got an idea. Now I just need a bunch of time and money to potentially try to build something. Man, I tell you what though, it was really hard to find a pencil. I think I need to go buy some pencils because you never know when you're going to need one. I tried drawing it like 3 times with pen, and I was like, no. I need something I can erase because I can't draw for expletive that I shouldn't say because Emoto's not here and she's trusting me not to swear, so I won't do it. So what I did here was I used my fiberglass brush to very gently, oh, it's on VOD, that's great. I'll put it on tonight, or maybe I'll watch it while I'm flying to Chicago next week. I took all the crud off with my fiberglass brush, and then I used my scrubby pad to remove a little bit of stuff, the rest of the crud off, just to get it nice and shiny. Shiny is smooth, but also when you use things that are a little too abrasive, you can remove plating, and you don't want to do that. So just be very careful and cognizant of what and how much abrasion you are putting on these old circuit boards. I'll use the wiper here, and I'll just gently wipe off the crud on the butterfly-shaped wiper that rubs against the circuit board. I'm trying to show it. Ta-da. We set the circuit board back in. We make sure that we get the contact side facing down. Put the washer on. Then you get the holder inner installed. And then we'll make sure that the wiper is not touching two contacts. There's a little bit of lateral adjustment you can do to rotate it the correct way, so we're not like bridging two contacts, if that makes sense. Kyle Pinball, gonna blow Godzilla out of the water. Well, I guess I'll get to work right now, and then, you know, maybe the whole Twippy thing next year will just be like, next Stern game, and Kyle Pinball. And then I'll just keep running up onto the stage, be like, oh man, I'm so honored. Oh crap, I forgot to put grease on this side. Just thinking about Kyle Pinball so much. What MPU does Road Kings use? It uses a AS2518-35, the late model Bally MPU. The same one that games like, you know, Xenon, Centaur, I think Viking used a -35. Or maybe it did a -18 because it still was 6-digit. I don't remember. A lot of the things they changed with those were just like the size of ROMs that could be used, because games were getting more complicated and they were needing to use more ROMs, different ROMs, larger ROMs. I think you can convert them backwards and forwards by cutting traces, but honestly at this point it's not even worth doing. Just get a replacement computer instead of ruining an original that could be used to restore something else. I'm not putting my opinion on that whatsoever. Okay. Oh wait, Road Kings? Oh wait, no, Road Kings. I thought you said Kings of Steel. Road Kings uses System 11A, I think. Or Road Kings is a straight System 11. I don't remember. Sorry, I just saw Kings and I was like, oh, I know that one. I think it's System 11A. The original System 11 board had a full outfit of audio stuff on the computer. And then System 11A, they realized that like the audio processor stuff they put on the actual MPU was bad. Or not bad, but it was outdated very quickly. So then they put more audio stuff on a secondary sound card. And then as the system moved on, System 11B had even less sound stuff on the computer as more and more stuff got put off onto a secondary sound card, to System 11C, like a game show, my roller games like Whirlwind and stuff, where almost all of the sound was removed from the computer and put up on a separate soundboard, just because it became, the soundboard was easier to work with than the outdated, you know, outdated being only 3 years old. But anywho. So that being said, a System 11 computer is very, very valuable. A System 11 computer can basically be put into any pinball game that uses System 11. A System 11C computer cannot be put into every pinball game because if you tried to put a System 11C into a High Speed or a Grand Lizard or something like that, it would not have any of the sound section present, which would mean you wouldn't have sound. So The System 11 computers are forward compatible, but the later ones, the B's and C's, are not backwards compatible.
So check this little stepper out. It rules. It's one little coil, a little relay coil in here, has this armature here with this arm. Let me see if turning this on. The moto's usually here to focus the cameras. But it's got this little finger that rides against this gear. Whenever this relay is pulsed and energizes, it steps this armature down, which then grabs a tooth on the gear and pushes it up. And what that does, it translates to this spinning movement here. And what this does is this is essentially our match relay. So we have the 10-point switch will generally turn or activate this. So every time you score 10 points, this will step one time to try and, gosh, English is not working today, to randomize what our match would be. One side of this will match up data with wherever the circuit board wiper for the score reel is. And if those two things match up, you get a free game. And the other one will light the light. So the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Nintendo Rami wants a Cyclone. Yeah, that's a good game. Pool Sharks. Oh, Pool Sharks is a great game. I mean, there are a few WPC games that, no. Yeah, doing dots is pretty hard. I can imagine that that's not easy. There are a couple WPC games that aren't dot matrix, but yeah. Oh yeah, not buying cheap Cyclones when you could buy Cyclones for $800, $1,000. Look, though, you can't kick yourself though, because I kick myself for selling everything that I owned. I also kick myself for not buying everything that I could when it cost no money. The amount of money that people were charging for a lot of games at Texas Pinball Festival just made me go, oh my. Just fine. That's what the market's doing, you know. I feel like I should just sell every single one of my pinball machines now and become a bazillionaire. I keep joking about it. Maybe these jokes will become true. Just kidding. I would never do that. I will just continue hoarding more until it keeps taking over my life even more. I went into my pinball room today where I have a couple of my games and I don't have a lot of place to keep all my parts and it's just a mess. It's really awful. I need to clean it up. But why do today what you can do tomorrow? Said the smartest philosopher ever. I guess that's the problem is I could sell like I could sell all 30 something of my games and only afford to buy a few back. But I like my old games a lot. I prefer to have a bunch of my old games with a few of the new ones intermixed, and it's fun that way. How many games do I have? Yeah, probably about, I have more than 30, but less than 35, I think. It's hard for me to keep track. I need to count, I guess. Yeah, no, having a bunch of pinball games is absolutely cumbersome, and it takes over your life. It's a giant headache sometimes. I moved across country with all of my games, and that was a logistics nightmare for me and everyone else who had to deal with that as well. I do want to, look, I have a bad problem though, is like I don't actually play my games a lot of the times. Like I prefer to keep them on location, but I can't keep all my games on location. But like tonight, I think I'm going to go home, going to play some TNA. I'm going to challenge my wife to a hot pinball action game of TNA and see if I can keep up because she will just cream me every single time on that game. I suck. Yeah, there's only a couple WPC Dr. Dudes. They have a blue apron. The more common System 11 one has a white and orange apron. It's very, 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 very rare to find a WPC one, but it's really cool. That's a collector's dream. I feel gross. Man, you know what? I'm really happy that this game works, though. I need to make sure before I go leave work tomorrow to get the right pop bumper bodies. I need to get new Mylar platters. Probably replace the pop bumper caps also. Those ones actually look quite good. We'll see. I definitely need to get a bunch of posts. We'll be replacing a bunch of the plastic posts, some rubbers. I might be stuck with the Harlem Globetrotters spinner. Is it actually nice or is it crap? It's kind of crap. I was going to say I might keep it and just put like a generic white spinner in there, but... You should play TNA. Everyone needs to play TNA. The skirts are actually quite nice, David, but since they're going to not match the color of the bodies, I should probably replace them. Here's a fun thing y'all should see also. Actually, I can show you later. I don't want to change cameras right now. The Gottlieb games used a pointed skirt. So instead of having just a straight round skirt with 6 holes in it, the tops of the skirts would have a little point in them. And I think that was to dissuade balls from just sitting at the top, right? So if you want to do it right, you use those in Gottlieb games, but not anything else. Yeah. I kind of need to figure out what I'm going to do with the game so I don't go too crazy with it. You do run into the problem where you try to like do games like to make like an aesthetic, like make things aesthetically nicer, but like when you make this nicer, then that starts to look like crap. So you want to make this look nicer, and then when that looks nicer, well, crap, now this looks really bad, and then it turns into a snowball thing. This customer kind of gave me free will. He was just like, do whatever it will take to make it nice within reason, right? I mean, this thing needs all the overspray taken off the cabinet. I'm probably going to get in there with some Novus. I could probably get a lot of the overspray from when they spray painted the front off with some Novus and a rag. Spray paint's really easy to get off, thankfully. I'm going to try to take off some of the rust and clean the inside of the coin door a bit, but I want to make sure that it's not... Look, I don't like restoring games, you know? I think patina really makes a game special. And I think Kyle's hot take in the last couple of minutes of this stream is a lot of people that over-restore pinball machines. I think a lot of people get way too fixated on the condition and things being, you know, enjoy it for what it is. Not every single game needs to be a perfect Tiffany egg museum thing. You know what I mean? Enjoy the game. Pinball's supposed to be played, you know? Definitely it's cool when people restore things, but man, there's something to be said about like a really nice patinaed original game. You know what I mean? I think it's something that's happened in just the last couple years where like every game needs to be perfect, spotless. It can't have a scratch on it. I don't like that trend. I like the patina. So there's my hot take. Pimp my pinball. Yeah, I'm going to definitely, I will put some LEDs in this game, but I'll do it, stealthily. A lot of times what I like to do is I will put a couple LEDs. There's 2 LEDs for each score reel, and sometimes what I'll do is I'll put like one LED every other on the tops or something like that, and since they're bright, they will bleed light out to the sides, and it just makes it look brighter without being too obnoxious. Sometimes even with like the really good high quality Comet LEDs that I like to use, like they are very bright. Even when you use the retro single SMDs, they can also be really bright compared to an incandescent lamp. So sometimes just throwing in a couple of these brighter 2 SMD lights it just adds brightness without making it too obnoxious. I don't know. We'll see. I know it's a real hotly debated subject. Like, do you put LEDs in EMs or not? And look, it's like I just want a game to look as bright and nice as possible. So I don't know. Sometimes I won't put them in GI on the playfield, or I'll only do it in really stealthy spots. But I like LEDs. They just make things look bright and nice. So it is nice to have a clean pinball machine, definitely, Daniel. But I definitely think not every single pinball machine needs to be playfield swapped, re-cabineted, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Yes, I definitely mix incandescents and LEDs on most of my games, and I definitely do it on EMs. I prefer it that way because it's you have a nice bright lit game, but it's not too intense. So maybe what I'll do is I'll generally do like every third LED in the back glass is an LED. I'm sorry, every third bulb is an LED. As long as they don't like over feature one point, like if this was way too bright or something like that, I try to be stealthy with it. But also putting LEDs in the back box is another great way to reduce the temperature onto the ink, trying to save those back glasses a little bit longer. Again, though, you do have to remember that these games, and especially like, not us as like pinball weirdos, but like other people, maybe they'll turn their game on once a month, maybe once every 2 months or something like that. So they're not on for 10 to 12 hours a day like they were in the arcade, where those incandescent lights would just burn them to death. You know what I mean? But that being said, when I was underneath this game, a lot of the feature lights were very blackened. So I have a feeling I will be going through a ton of number 44 bulbs on this game. But we'll see. I'll try to make it look good. The customer just wants it to be reliable and look nice. So if we clean it up, get it working perfectly, throw some LEDs in there, it'll be fine. So I am on team warm white. Definitely. I like warm white LEDs. I think the way a lot of the artists drew their artwork and the colors they used were meant to have that slightly warm yellow glow behind them. So I like using warm whites to exemplify that. That being said, I do need to experiment with the sunlight or natural white lights that Comet Pinball has brought out. They do look very good. And also there are times when a cool white LED can absolutely be used. I use them in my Twilight Zone behind the door, right? I'll use cool white LEDs under white inserts a lot of times on more modern games to make them a very brilliant white. But for a lot of the back glasses, I find it just a lot more pleasing to have a warm white LED in there. But I do really want to try the sunlight whites. I'm going to be placing another order with Comet, and I'll try to pile some of those on there. What beer will we be drinking tonight? Oh, wait, hold on. Do you think Yopsicles would work on a Gottlieb EM? Maybe, but they do use AC current, so they might flicker a bit. Now, David Yop did send me some AC type Yopsicles to test and prototype, so I probably will do that soon on one of my games. It's been a long time, but that would be a great addition for him to sell too. What beer will I be drinking tonight? I will be drinking some delicious Keller beer, or maybe some Kolsch. It's pretty hot out. Actually, it just rained, so it's probably not too hot today, but some Kolsch would be nice on a hot day like this. Ah, okay, Insanity Falls. Wait, I threw a bunch in Riverboat Gambler before the show, and I don't know if I'll ever buy Sunlight again. Is it because you don't care for Sunlight, or is it a little too pale for your liking? I mean, that game does use a lot of reds and yellows, so maybe the warm whites do look better. Warm whites were the best. Everyone likes the warm whites. I'm doing some pedal surgery right now. Good for you. But I have a bunch of intense opinions. I think your opinions might match up with mine. I think we've had this conversation before. Okay. So Sunlight White maybe looks better on some cooler palette games. We'll see. I want to try them out. I definitely see what you're saying, though. If anyone doesn't know, I mean, warm white is going to be like a yellow or warmish glow, right? Kind of like an incandescent bulb. And then cool white would be maybe more like the color of paper, where sunlight or natural is kind of right in the middle. So it's a few thousand Kelvin warmer than a cool white, or a few thousand Kelvin cooler than a warm white. And it's just a more neutral color. So they might look okay some places, but I mean, look, almost all my games I have, I think Viking actually still has incandescence in it. Lady Luck looks really spotty because the back glass is quite faded. But I don't know, you know. LEDs are fun. I think someone redeemed a hydrate. I'm going to hydrate myself really quick, especially since Colin is here, and then we're going to end the stream. But I must say, I very much appreciate all y'all showing up consistently. It's very fun. And now I'm walking to the fridge. I don't know how far this mic goes, so you might be able to hear me all the way over here. Oh, there's only crap in here. I don't want to drink any. Oh, there's one. Ugh. This is an acceptable beverage. That is not a unacceptable beverage. Unfortunately, I can't show you what kind of beverage it is, but cheers to all of us for a good bit of work today. Thank you for all the help. Groggy Frogface says, I left the original green bulbs on Monster Bash on the playfield. The LEDs looked awful when they pulse. Yeah. Are you talking about the feature lamps? Personally, I don't. The only times I put LEDs on feature lamps in games that aren't like a Yopsicle, right? Like the little LED boards we've been talking about forever, is in older games, or they're games on location. Oat soda, exactly. They do flicker a lot. Now, Groggy Frogface, there are multiple kinds of LEDs though. There are a kind of LED called a non-ghosting LED. And these non-ghosting LEDs have more robust resistors in line with the LED. The way the lamp matrix works is the way it was intended to work and designed for using incandescent bulbs. It takes a good, honest amount of current to light an incandescent bulb, right? You're putting electricity between some tungsten that glows red hot. With an LED, you need a whole lot less voltage to illuminate the LED. So the effect you get is when you put LEDs in there is you're getting little residual pulses of voltage throughout the lamp matrix, and that's when you get that flickering. Where if you put an incandescent bulb in there, anything before like maybe 2 or 3 volts won't make it do anything. But then when you get like 3.5 volts in there, it starts to glow, which in a lamp matrix is fine, because when the lamp matrix says, okay, bulb 47, do your thing, it gets voltage and it lights up, if that makes sense. So I'm going to corner the market on green bulbs. Good man. I have a whole bucket of crappy LEDs I've taken out of pinball machines over the years, and I like to throw them in things for goofy stuff, you know. I think in my night moves, I found the most obnoxiously bright, cool white LEDs to put in the middle where it says night moves. And that was always fun. Pinball Peanut asks if I'm a fan of the LED OCD boards. Very much so. I think they're really cool. I might buy one for my Twilight Zone. That game used to live on location, so it had, I put full non-ghosting LEDs for the inserts in there. And it really does take away the beauty of those light sweeps and the light shows on some of those games. The LED OCD bulb boards will allow the LEDs to kind of ramp up and ramp down, kind of like a dimmer feature. So you'll get those beautiful light sweeps as the light shows happen. Where the programmers would program a ramp on and a ramp off on an LED with exactly what I just explained about. When it ramps on, it just is on and then off. And the LED OCD boards allows it to kind of have different levels of brightness. They're really wonderful. On some games, like my customer in Savannah, I won't even put LEDs in his Creature from the Black Lagoon because there's so many cool features with the feature lamps that I need to have an LED OCD board for that. I'm using too many letters right now. You can solder resistors in, but it's a huge pain in the butt. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree for the most part. It's, yeah, you need the LED OCD boards. They just look so much better. I have a little box of non-ghosting warm whites and non-ghosting cool whites because they definitely have their own place, but every single colored LED I buy is only non-ghosting if I were to need to use it in a feature board or something like that, or a feature lamp. But you don't want to use non-ghosting LEDs when you're using the LED OCD board. That extra amount of resistance in the bulb itself will make the LED OCD board do weird things. So there's your thing, right? If I was going to put the LED OCD board in my twilight zone, there's a high chance I would need to replace a bunch of almost all of my feature lamps with standard bulbs and not non-ghosting bulbs. So again, since I'm a service tech, not a beautifier for most time, I just carry the things that make the most sense for me at the time that I need to use them. So, Pinball Peanut says the T2 looked awful with LEDs, and you added the LED OCD, and it's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the greatest products. I would love to sell them at Marco. Star Trek Next Gen definitely needs an OCD board. Yeah, if you have LEDs in it, yes. It just looks a whole lot better. The light shows are more beautiful. Now, like looking at like this rush behind me, you know, the way that they program these things now, they can build those same effects into it. But again, we're trying to bring 20th century technology into the 21st century, and that's why some of these extra products are required to make them more beautimous, where Stern just is doing it from the get-go, you know, with 21st century technologies. Okay, now if y'all are bored of listening to me talk, it's probably time to turn the stream off. So I'm glad y'all came and we did a little bit of learning today. I'm glad we had David to make the call on the AX relay right away. That was fantastic. I'm glad that David was there to also look at the schematic for me, since unfortunately I didn't have one with me, which is shame on me. Always try to have documentation or at least something similar when I'm working on a game. Nintendo Ramy says, what about LED or LCD color DMD? I prefer the LED DMDs. They just look better to me. Oh, second place Andy is stroking my ego here. Never bored of hearing you talk. That's very kind of you. What else I might do this weekend is start sanding the shooter lane area on Hotline. I'd really like to get Hotline back together too. That game needs to go back together. I need to start laying some varnish down now that it's getting warm and stuff like that. And then I see my Gottlieb Hot Hand. I don't know what game that is. Hold on. I bought this one in Allentown last year and I haven't touched it. I think it's a Hot Hand. High Hand. It's a great game. I need to fix High Hand. It was kind of working. I got it for very few $100s, not very much money at all. And it had like it has a clear-coated playfield that was done kind of like, okay, but I think that's a game that I'd like to get together to be put on location. It's just a single-player drop target Gottlieb, so I would like to work on that one day. It's a nice can of ginger ale or oat soda. Yep. Thank you. It will be my birthday soon. My birthday weekend of working. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. My poor wife. She's like, what do you want to do for your birthday? I'm like, I don't know, work? Play pinball? That sounds fun. Aw, y'all are nice. I like doing talking, but I feel like talking is just me giving baseless opinions a lot of the time, and I don't like doing that. I'd rather try to teach, you know, but if y'all like my opinions or how to do things, I'll try to keep giving them to you. I don't know if I'm going to stream this weekend. I like streaming while I'm working, but it also is kind of distracting. So I might set aside some time. I mean, I'm going to work for a few hours, but I might try to do, look, maybe. It's going to be one of Kyle's baseless, hey, I might stream this weekend promises, but like sometimes when I tell y'all, it's like, oh, I'm going to stream this weekend while I'm working on something, it gives me the inspiration to actually go do it. But also, I have like 25% less mental capacity to actually work. So I do want to get this thing like in a much better place for the customer, because I'd like to get it out of here and get paid eventually. And I'd also, look, I need to continue working on Hotline. I need to get Vector going because I'd like to get the Mylar laid down on Vector so we can also continue working on Vector. Here, before we go, let's actually just take one look at Vector really quick. How do I do this? What camera is it? Okay, I can turn this one off and that one off. Okay, cool. Check this out. So I had a factory piece of Mylar in my Vector. So I took it up to Serene in the graphics department. And I had her copy it. So now I have two factory, like the actual factory cuts of Mylar, which I think we're selling them on the website too. So I'd like to get the playfield really clean to the point where it's like, I feel good enough about it, and really wax it nicely, and then lay the Mylar down. I found that when you wax a playfield and then lay Mylar down on top of it, it's actually a little bit easier to take it back off if you need eventually. But the goal would be to just protect what I have, right, on the game. I might even try to cut a piece to put on top of this. I think the transition is actually okay, but I need to look at that. But we'll Mylar this playfield. It's very nice, but it is also very crusty. As I started to clean it, we had a bit of the ink start falling apart up here. I don't know if you can see that. So the second thing I would do is I need to disassemble the top side still, but I'm going to cut a long piece of Mylar to try to cover all of that stuff up. And again, this is a player, right? Like, it doesn't need to be done super crazy. I just want to protect what I still have left, and the best and easiest way to do that is with a nice piece of Mylar. So, Jungle Lord, new plastics fitted. Very excited to get this game back together because it's basically done. So once we get this thing on the road, I'm very excited to start working on Vector again. Sorry if that made y'all sick. We gotta move the camera. Okay, anyways, now I need to go. Emoto would be laughing at me right now. She'd be like, you always stream so much later when I'm not here. Yeah, so. That's kick-ass. Yeah, it kind of is. Vector's really cool. I'm really excited to get that one done with y'all and play it. So, anywho, thanks for joining me. Cheers. We did some good work today. I really appreciate all of the comments in the chat, as always, helping me work through my problems. So, what are y'all doing this weekend? You have to find a centaur to restore it. Oh, yeah, tell me about it. If you find one, I'll fly over to Croatia and we can take it home together. Centaur is my dream game. I want Centaur so bad. Rebuilding flippers, good man. Yeah, we're definitely going to raid a streamer. I like doing that. So here, let's go to. I'm gonna go to Twitch and I'm gonna try to find a streamer, a stream lord, an e-clown. Let's type in pinball. I hope Manu's on. Manu was in Texas and it was really cool to see him. What if I raid myself? There's literally no one streaming pinball. I think everyone is watching us right now. I think the thing is, like, I don't know Oh, that's virtual pinball. I don't want to raid virtual pinball. Not to sound like a jerk. And I don't know who this person is. Sometimes I feel scared putting my name behind some people I don't know. So, hey, APB Enterprises. Let's. I know you're gonna be really far. You're far away from where I'll be in Chicago, but it would be great to bump into you. I'm going to be there from the 7th to the 18th. My wife will be with me from the 13th to the 18th. But, you know, I'm staying with some of my friends that work at Stern, so I will be in Chicago suburby areas, you know. We'll be at, yeah, I'm gonna, you know what, I'll give it 5 more minutes. I just want to see if someone will come online, because I'd like to shuffle you guys over to someone else, but. Yeah, I'll definitely go to Logan. I want to go to Galloping Ghost. I think that Mike will take me there. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple other arcades to go to, but I just plan to eat my way through Chicago, you know. I really want to eat some pizza. You'll be at MGC. Well, that's good, but I also want to see you in Chicago. I'm going to rent a car. I just don't, I don't know. I'm not trying to drive like all over the place. Yeah. Rental cars are expensive, but that's also the downside of like, well, it's not a downside. I'm very lucky that someone is letting me stay with them in Chicago, but it's many, many miles from like actual Chicago. So like I looked at it, it's like, okay, what would it take to do like public transportation to get to the Museum of Science and Industry? And it's like 2 hours. And then it's like, you know, well, okay, well, how much would an Uber ride be? And like an Uber or a Lyft is like $50 run one way. It's like, okay, well, if I take an Uber from the suburbs to Chicago, and that's like $100 each way, well, I only need to do that 3 or 4 or 5 times before a car is worth it. I want to wind my own coil. You should let me wind my own coil. I'll come up there. When I was at Stern, I'm gonna ask them to let me just build my own pinball machine. Like, yo, let me put one together. I got this. I'm totally cool. I'm gonna open Twitch on my phone. Just so I can see if anyone starts streaming pinball. They have 4 more minutes before we start to just go. I'm streaming pinball, yep. Man, we've just got it all. I wonder where Manu is. There must be, he must not be streaming today. That was great to meet him, or see him, you know. Don't forget parking. No, I know parking is not easy and expensive, but it's just easier. You know, I'm staying in a town called Downers Grove, and it's like 40 plus minutes away from Chicago, you know. Downers. Well, yeah, you know. Hey, they can be sad. People can be sad. But yeah, it just kind of makes more sense. There is a possibility that some tall, weird guy might be joining some other guy, tall, weird guy, who streams pinball a lot. There's a big possibility. On some kind of a pinball stream, I think he goes by Dead Flip or something. That may or may not happen. We'll see. Is there pinball streamers in Europe? Yeah, there's fellas, there's a great group of guys from France called RB Flip, and they stream in French language, and they have a huge following, and they do really, really clever camera setups, and they have some fun outfits, and it makes me wish I could understand French, so. Sad Sackville. There's some streamers in Germany also, Daniel. There's a guy called Loose Flip, and he streams in German very often on the weekends. There's also a guy, there's a couple. I don't know all of them. It looks like no one's gonna stream. It might be just us, y'all. We might just have to end this. So, French is hard, yeah. Downers Grove. Go to Jameson's Char House. Huh. There's a brewery that I need to go to in Downers Grove. It's like, I've heard that they make like some of the best, if not the they're one of the best like traditional German style breweries in America, and they're in Downers Grove, and they're called Goldfinger Brewing Company. I'm definitely going to go there. I know we're going to go to Kuma's. I'm going to go to Portillo's. We're going to go get some hot Italian beef sandwiches. I know that. The guys in the service department at Stern owe me lunches, I've heard, so I need to go and talk with them. There's a tiki bar called Hala Kaiki that I cannot wait to go to. One of my friend that owns the coffee shop that I go to every day by my house, he is a pizza fanatic, and he gave me a lot of pizza places to go to that aren't like, just touristy Chicago deep pizzas and stuff. But Jameson's Char House. Okay, let me add that to my thingy. Yes, that's the place that I have, APB. That pizza place is on my list. What is it? Jameson's. I'll be honest though, I'm quite sad that I will not be here for a couple weeks to stream, because then we have like, I'm going to be at all these shows and stuff all the time. So it's like, I won't be able to do a lot of PinTech Live. We're also going to probably parse down, or like, we've kind of thought about it, and we might like stop doing a lot of streaming at the shows. Like, just since we can't bring like tons of people, it takes a lot to have someone run streaming, right? So we're still going to definitely do like walkthroughs, and we're still definitely, maybe we'll stream like the setup because it's kind of fun, but we might not like do like a big deal streaming thing at shows. There's just too much to do, especially at the really big shows like Texas. I spent more time talking to vendors and customers and stuff like that than I had time to stream, so. But I'm just sad we don't get to work on games as much. It makes me bummed out, but anyways, I'm checking the streams one more time, and if there's no one there, y'all are just going off into the void, and you're going back home. Find your own streamers, gosh. Hold on, F5. Nope, no virtual pinball for me, and I don't want to raid our own channels, so. Anyways, thank you all a bunch for joining. It's always a great time having y'all, and we'll figure, I think we have one day we can stream before I have to go back to Milwaukee. Hold on. And we'll get some more work done. We'll work on something. So that's when I come back from holiday. Yeah, okay. So I'll definitely be here the 21st. And then I think on the 28th, that might be the day that I'm flying to Milwaukee. So the last 2 weeks of April, we'll definitely do it. But also, remember, at the same time next week, Crystal will be here talking with some homebrewers. So you won't be fixing games, but you could definitely join in on a conversation talking to people who build pinball machines, which is pretty cool. So anyways, bye y'all. It was great to have you guys here. Have fun.